Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm loving reading your work so much. Thank you for all the just effort you've put into responding to these texts so far. They've been I just find myself smiling when I read your stuff. It's just been awesome. So thanks. Thanks for just jumping in and playing with the ideas so far. This video is intended to give you a little more context for this first make that we're going to do, which is around storytelling. This class moves so fast in the summer, and I recognize, like, oh my God, what do we have to do now? I'm hoping you'll check this out, and then you'll have till Sunday night. I'd like to see them Monday morning, so to get this done. So you have a couple of options, and actually, the sky's the limit. Like I'm going to give you a couple of options just because sometimes some constraints can be helpful instead of just anything goes. But if you have a different idea for how you want to do a storytelling in some way, then of course just reach out and let me know. I'd be happy to entertain all kinds of ways you could do this. But what I've given you as options, as a more of a limit, just to help, is to write either a poem or to perhaps write a story and use the platform StoryJumper, which is a platform that you could use with kids in your future classroom. And so I want to offer you ways that you can try out something that you could use later. And why a poem is because so many children's books now, particularly chapter books, are in verse, in free verse, are lyrical. In fact, the poem we read, A Girl Named Jack, is from Brown Girl Dreaming, which is a series of poems that are talking about her life. And so I want to offer that as an option because I'm also going to put a link to a few lists of just these incredible children's books that are written in free verse. And so it's just a good option for trying out how to tell a story through verse or through poems. So that's why that's one option. You could take your introduction post and break it up into short lines and see if there's something poetic that emerges from it, and then revise based on that. Or you could pull out some of the key words from your introduction posts about yourselves, or take one of the pictures off of the slide deck of yourself and write the story behind that. Like that would be a way to go. Write a poem around that. And then, yeah, you don't have to use StoryJumper. You could write a story and just share the story in a Google Doc or in a text entry. You could write a story and film yourself reading your own story. I've had students in the past who invite their kids to do the audio portion with them, reading parts of the dialogue or also just reading parts of the story. StoryJumper has an option for you to read your story, and it'll record your audio, which is what Elizabeth did in the example that I have from StoryJumper. And the only thing else I'll say about StoryJumper is you do have to make sure you share the link from the share button, or I'll just get a link to StoryJumper in general and not to your actual story. So you have to publish it and then share from the share setting. Don't freak out if it doesn't work. I can help. So I'll watch to make sure. I should see a thumbnail image and not just a link to the StoryJumper site. We can sort it out. I gave you some suggestions for how you can brainstorm, including going back to those lists that you're writing. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so even going back to those lists that you wrote today, and seeing if something stands out. As far as how long the story should be, I don't know. As long as you need it to be to tell your story. They're not long. I mean, I think if you look at the StoryJumper example, they're just a few pages. So I'm not really worried about length with these. I mean, I suppose you could give me a haiku. I kind of hope you push yourselves and write me a little longer poem than that. But maybe you write really brilliant haikus about your life. I don't know. If you do that, maybe you write 4 of them or something. So I'm not totally worried about length with this. Try to brainstorm some of the details of the story, and that will help you have something to say. The only other thing I need to remind you of is this assignment kind of has, the makes will always have 2 parts, which is the make itself, which in this case is a story that's either done via poem or StoryJumper, or you writing a little story and sharing it with me or reading it or whatever. And then a reflection, and the reflection prompts are asking you to tell me a little bit about what you were trying to do with your story. Like, why did you decide to, for example, record yourself? What were you hoping that would do? And I really like it if you can talk from some of the elements of the mentor texts that inspired some of your writing. So, this week we read all these mentor texts that were focused on names. And so I would love to see some stories about how you all got your names. And then you might talk to elements that you borrowed from those mentor texts to help you write your story. So, a little reflection. And what the reflection also allows you to do is sometimes we're going to do stuff and what we have in our head doesn't always get realized on the page. And so the reflection allows you to say like what your big dreams and goals were for the assignment, for this story, and then how it actually worked out, so that you can also just talk about your process, and we can honor the process as part of the work of writing. I think that's all I need to say about that. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to post a link to some other novels in verse that you might want to use, that you might want to read yourself, or you might want to use with kids. Yeah, you guys are doing, like I said, awesome work. Loving reading it. And I'll make a video update again for when we get to week 2, and I'll post that Friday or Saturday. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you.